Welcome to The Explainer. There's this hidden history buried right under our wheels. Today, we're going to dig into how the roads in just one county in Arkansas tell this incredible story. A story of how our modern world is literally built layer by layer right on top of the ancient past. All right, let's kick things off with a bit of a puzzle. It sounds kind of weird, right? On one hand, you've got this marvel of modern engineering, and on the other, a symbol of the wild. What on earth could possibly connect the two? Well, the answer is, believe it or not, pretty much everything. The story of this one county shows us that almost every single road we drive on is built on these invisible layers of history, with each new tech just paving right over the last one. And it all starts with the very first lines drawn on the map. Okay, so long before anyone even thought about drawing a map or laying down a single stone for a road, the land itself, and yeah, its wild inhabitants, they created the very first transportation network. So you see, the geography in Ashley County was, well, it was a real challenge. Going north and south, no problem. Super easy. You just followed the rivers and boom, you had your first trade highways. But trying to go east to west? Oh man, that was a whole different story. It was this nearly impossible slog through a maze of swamps and super dense forest. So, who do you think built the first real roads? Here's a hint. It wasn't people. It was massive herds of American bison. They just instinctively knew the best way to go, carving out the most efficient routes by sticking to the high, dry ground. These were basically animal superhighways. And they were so perfect, so logical, that first, Native American tribes like the Quapaw and Caddo started using them. And then later on, even the first U.S. government surveyors followed those exact same trails. The path of an animal literally became the path of a person. And for generations, that was it. Life just flowed north to south, right along those rivers. But then, in the late 1800s, this new technology shows up, and it completely shatters that old pattern. It basically reorients the entire county around a totally new axis of power. And that technology? You guessed it, the railroad, specifically something called the Mississippi River, Hamburg, and Western Railway. The goal was super simple. Finally conquer that tough east-west terrain. The plan was to use it like a giant conveyor belt, to move all the county's timber over to the Mississippi River and then out to the rest of the world. The age of iron was here. And this next part is wild. It just shows you how one single decision can change everything. So you have this huge company, the Crossett Lumber Company, and they want to build their giant mill in the county's seat, Hamburg. But the leaders in Hamburg said no. They actually refused the offer, apparently calling the little industry undesirable. So what does the company do? They just go out and build their own city, Crossett, right in the middle of the woods, and basically tell the railroad, "You're coming to us." And they did. The tracks were extended, and just like that, an industrial powerhouse was born, pretty much out of thin air. So, this railroad, it totally created a new economic reality, right? It carved this dominant path straight across the landscape. So, when the next big disruptive technology came along, the automobile, the engineers didn't have to reinvent the wheel. They just followed the tracks. Okay, and this is where it gets really, really cool. You can see the whole progression laid out. In 1898, the railroad makes the path. Fast forward to 1924, the state designates its first highway, State Road 2. And where does it go? Right alongside the tracks. Then, just a few years after that, the federal government comes in and creates U.S. Highway 82 by, you got it, just paving over that same state road. The path of the train literally became the path of the car. It's wild. So, for almost 100 years, the whole county was defined by this powerful east-west corridor that the railroad had built. But that created a big problem, an imbalance. All the economic energy was just flowing in one direction. It was time to, bring the map back into balance. And that's where U.S. Highway 425 comes in. By building this major federal highway running north to south, the planners basically brought back the county's original natural flow of trade, the one from the old river days. Except now it was in this modern, high-speed form. And let me tell you, upgrading these old corridors for today's world, it's a massive, massive job. Just look at this number. Over $44 million. That was the cost to upgrade just one single 10-mile stretch. That's almost $4.5 million a mile, all to adapt these ancient pathways for modern trucks and traffic. So, by widening both that historic east west road, US 82, and the new north south one, US 425, these projects created something the county had never, ever had before: a perfectly balanced high capacity grid. It's like a big cross right in the heart of the county, finally letting goods and people move efficiently in every direction. Okay, so if we take a step back and look at the whole picture, this really lays it all out, doesn't it? You can just trace the story right down the line. You start with the river, setting up north-south trade, then the railroad comes in and builds this east-west timber empire. Then that gets paved over to become Highway 82. And finally, everything gets balanced out by the new Highway 425. It's just each new layer of technology is either building on top of or reacting to the one that came right before it. So here's the real takeaway. When you look at a map of Ashley County, you are not just seeing roads. You're looking at a physical ledger, a record of its entire history. The ancient instinct of a bison, the big ambitions of some timber baron, the careful vision of a modern engineer. They're all right there, written into the very same lines of asphalt. And that kind of makes you think, doesn't it? I mean, the next time you're just driving to work or to the store, think about what's under your wheels. What forgotten rivers or old abandoned railways or maybe even ancient animal trails are hiding just beneath the surface, silently shaping the exact path you travel every single day.